I, a 26-year-old woman, got married to my 28-year-old boyfriend around a year ago after 3 years of being together. Recently, we've been facing frequent conflicts, mainly revolving around financial issues. My husband lost his job due to downsizing at his company 5 months ago, and although he secured a new job a few weeks back, the pay is significantly lower. Sustaining our current lifestyle requires more financial stability, and I've been urging him to continue job hunting while working at his current position. However, he seems disinterested in further job searches, leading to our ongoing disagreements. While I also contribute to our income, covering all the bills on my own is beyond my financial capacity. I've become somewhat irritable due to the strain on my paycheck, which is mostly dedicated to paying bills, leaving me unable to save. Despite my efforts to communicate these concerns, he struggles to comprehend the urgency. About a week ago, tensions peaked during a heated argument over rent, occurring on the eve of his work trip. Shockingly, he left without saying goodbye, an unprecedented move for him. Adding to my distress, a few days earlier, I had loaned money to my sister, Isabel, aged 23, to cover medical bills for a severe ankle injury. Living in a different state, I couldn't be physically present, but I sent her the money, unbeknownst to my husband. This financial assistance, coupled with our unresolved issues, resulted in my inability to pay rent on time. Regrettably, I had kept the situation with my sister a secret, inadvertently contributing to the escalating tensions between my husband and me. However, that day, a few hours after my husband's abrupt departure, I found myself scrolling through Instagram. To my astonishment, my sister had posted numerous pictures from a beach. Contrary to her earlier claims of a twisted ankle, she appeared carefree, running into the sea and posing without a hint of pain or discomfort. Skeptical about the rapid recovery, I realized she had deceived me. Ironically, she forgot to block me on social media, and to compound matters, she had shared her location coincidentally, the same place my husband had gone for his purported business trip. Upon this revelation, I decided to take a chance and called my husband's office, seeking a meeting with him. Shockingly, the receptionist informed me that he no longer worked there, having resigned just 2 days prior. The truth became glaringly evident. He had not only lied about his job but had also embarked on a vacation with my younger sister, squandering our money on lavish getaways. Overwhelmed by the realization, I found myself in tears, uncertain of when I had stopped crying. The subsequent hours were a blur of emotional turmoil, punctuated only by sporadic moments of sleep. Accepting the undeniable truth, I acknowledged their betrayal. I couldn't delude myself into believing it was a mere coincidence. Although I attempted to give them the benefit of the doubt, deep down, I knew better. This unforeseen betrayal left me grappling with the shock. There were no discernible signs or mental preparation for such events. While the strain of our recent arguments weighed on me, I couldn't attribute the breakdown of our relationship solely to my actions. The most profound betrayal came from my sister, because I was always willing to go to great lengths to bring joy to her life. Yet, here she was, engaging in a relationship with my husband and embarking on luxurious vacations, all funded by my hard-earned money. The more I dwelled on it, the stronger the surge of anger within me, and by the fourth day, all I desired was to retaliate. I yearned for them to experience the same pain I felt and witness the ruin of their lives. I refrained from taking any action while they were on vacation, but waited patiently for my husband's return. Although my sister would likely head back home, my husband would have no alternative but to return to our shared residence. So, I bided my time throughout that week. Finally, last night, my husband came back home. I had meticulously prepared a feast for him. As I heard his car pull into the driveway, I dimmed the lights and set a path to the table with rose petals. I had put in the effort, fully aware that this could be our last date night ever. Upon entering the house, he appeared pleasantly surprised, further taken aback when he realized I had styled my hair the way he liked and was wearing a dress he had bought me during our dating days. Despite my inner turmoil, I pulled out all the stops, trying to make him feel at home. I offered apologies for the pre-departure fight, and he forgave me instantly. As we sat down for dinner, he continuously complimented the food I had prepared. When we reached dessert, I served him my special brownies, and he indulged in 3 of them. With the meal concluded, I decided it was time to confront him. After putting on my best smile, I confronted him with the pictures my sister had posted, questioning him about his supposed business trip. As I handed him the evidence, he couldn't feign ignorance. He understood the gravity of the situation. Despite pretending that his trip had been pleasant, he played dumb about the relevance of the photos. It was then that I revealed I had called his workplace, discovering he had quit his job. Realizing his infidelity, I had already initiated divorce proceedings and served him the papers after dinner. Without waiting for his response, I left the house with my packed bags, heading straight to a hotel. I immediately contacted my parents, informing them to stop sending money to my sister. They were as shocked as I was and pledged to deal with her. Knowing she had just started working and was yet to receive her first paycheck, I understood she would be stranded without parental support. Though I wished to confront her in person, for now, this distant action would have to suffice as a stern lesson for betraying me. Regarding my husband, this wasn't just about crafting a memorable farewell dinner. Unbeknownst to him, the special brownies I prepared were laced with laxatives. He would undoubtedly remember the occasion, but not for the reasons people might expect. I disposed of all evidence, ensuring no trace remained. However, this morning, he called, requesting I cover his hospital bills due to the severity of his illness. While unintended, I don't harbor sympathy for him. He claims to know I'm responsible for his condition, but lacking proof, I don't feel threatened. If he hadn't squandered all his funds on an extravagant week-long vacation with my sister, he could have covered the medical expenses. Better yet, there wouldn't be any expenses at all. This situation is entirely his responsibility, and I hold no sympathy for him. Am I in the wrong for refusing to foot the bill for his hospital trip? Update 1: I chose not to cover any expenses, and he's understandably furious. However, I've blocked him to avoid further confrontation, and I'm not invested in what unfolds for him moving forward. Despite the favorable circumstances he had with me, he's now facing the challenge of navigating life independently, just like my sister. She attempted to reach out a few hours ago, bombarding me with texts, but I didn't respond. My parents had severed financial ties with her due to their disappointment in her actions. In urgent need of groceries after a week away, she accused me of trying to starve her solely based on an Instagram post. Despite her assumptions, I didn't engage with her and opted to block her as well, leaving her with no one to turn to for assistance. Both my husband and sister had my support until now, but after their betrayal and the pain they inflicted, they've lost that privilege. They deserve the consequences of their actions. People may label me as psychotic, evil, or heartless, but I'm indifferent to such opinions. I made numerous sacrifices to fulfill their desires, and in return, they chose to betray and screw me over. Fortunately, my sister forgot to block me, allowing me to uncover the betrayal. The audacity of both my husband and sister to seek help after cheating on me are astonishing, as if they are entitled to anything. While I could demand the money I lent my sister for her alleged hospital bills, I'm not interested in engaging with her. As for my husband, he hasn't mentioned anything about the divorce yet. Even if he does, I won't be aware unless he responds legally. He still has the option to email me, and I hope he does so soon, as I don't want to waste more time in this marriage. My lawyer, who happens to be a friend, is not charging exorbitantly, providing some relief. However, my husband can't even afford legal representation, putting him in a more precarious situation than myself. I eagerly await to see how he will navigate this predicament. Update 2. My husband had to endure a 3-day hospital stay, accumulating a substantial bill. I'm unsure how he managed to settle it, perhaps seeking assistance from his parents and friends, since reaching out to me was not an option. A mutual friend informed me about this development. Despite receiving the divorce notice, he has yet to respond, and it seems he's taking his time, especially now that affording a lawyer is a challenge. We haven't communicated since that fateful night, and I intend to maintain that silence. I have no desire for his apologies or explanations, as they won't alter my feelings or decisions. Given the opportunity to express remorse when he initially requested financial help, he remained silent, and I don't anticipate any apologies now. My only wish is for him not to contest the divorce. I aim to avoid a protracted legal battle that would prolong my thoughts about him. Regarding my sister, she returned home to our parents after realizing she couldn't afford independent living. Waiting for her first paycheck to arrive, she must have borrowed money from friends to cover the flight ticket expenses, as her savings fell short. Despite her pleas, my parents were unwilling to take her back in. My mom shared that it was incredibly challenging to turn my sister away. Despite what she had done to me, my parents felt awful repeatedly asking her to leave while she sobbed and begged to be taken in. Eventually, she left, and my mom believes she's currently staying with a friend. She also confessed that if my sister returned, she might not resist taking her back in. I can somewhat empathize with my mom's perspective. While I'm not a mother, I can imagine the difficulty my parents faced in turning away their daughter. Despite her role in ruining my marriage, she's still their child. I won't be thrilled if my parents decide to take her back, but I won't hold it against them either. I've moved in with a friend who is also a lawyer, as I can't afford to continue living in a hotel with my salary. She generously allows me to live rent-free, and I feel incredibly fortunate and thankful. Even though my sister and husband were indifferent, I still have some loyal friends who stand by me. Update 3: My husband has yet to respond to the divorce notice, and it's been nearly 2 weeks since I sent it. I'm unsure about his actions and the reason for the delay, but I'm not bothered to investigate. After all, he stands to lose everything if he fails to respond in time, which suits me just fine. Honestly, I have no insight into his current activities, and even his friends are clueless. I've revisited our house twice to retrieve some belongings I left behind. Despite my initial nervousness about encountering him, he hasn't changed the locks, and the house feels uninhabited. Dust covers every surface, and though many things remain untouched, I observed a significant emptiness in his closet, and the fridge was completely bare. It seems he may have moved out. In any case, it worked well for me, sparing me from encountering him during my visits. For those inquiring, my sister never exhibited behavioral issues during our upbringing. She was always a sweet and supportive sibling, making her betrayal a complete shock to me and my parents. I'm unaware of how they got involved or their current communication status. One thing is certain: nobody anticipated this. There were no discernible signs, and while I currently lack concrete proof of my husband's infidelity beyond an Instagram post from my sister, I'm not overly concerned. I trust I'll uncover the truth, and if necessary, I'll persuade my parents to make my sister confess, providing the evidence I need. By the way, my sister has returned home, and I'm not upset or disappointed with my parents for allowing her back. I see it as an advantage since they can influence her, and by extension, so can I. I've instructed my parents to keep an eye on her and monitor her social media activity. If they're still in touch, it could be detrimental for him during the divorce proceedings. Update 4: Hey there. It's been a while since I updated you on what's been happening. I've been swamped with work and my divorce, leaving little time for anything else. Finally, the divorce is in progress. I heard back from my husband 2 weeks ago, and fortunately, he chose not to contest it. Settlement negotiations are about to begin in a few days, and I'm mentally preparing to face him for the first time since that fateful night. We haven't spoken or met since then, and I anticipate it will be awkward and intimidating. Luckily, my friend is helping me stay composed. I just let her do the talking, and I'm good to go. On the flip side, my soon-to-be ex-husband has been spreading false stories about me on social media, claiming I poisoned him, refused to pay for his medical expenses, and even ran away with his money. None of it is true. I found out about his posts from our friends since I had him blocked. I chose not to respond but made sure to collect screenshots. He's moved to a smaller apartment and is sharing it with a roommate due to financial constraints. I'm unsure about his job situation or how he's affording a lawyer, but he seems confident. Little did he know, my sister sent me all the proof I needed to dismantle him in court. My parents brought her under control, and she willingly provided evidence that he had an affair and neglected bills due to it. I was devastated to learn that this had been ongoing for months, starting when his company first announced downsizing. My sister claims their affair began as he vented about the stress, eventually developing feelings for each other. All those weekend work trips he'd taken were to see her, and even after losing his job, he kept it from me for weeks. He pretended he still had business trips while I worked tirelessly just to put food on the table. My disgust wasn't reserved for my husband alone. My sister, my childhood best friend, had callously betrayed me, ruining my marriage without a second thought. It's unbelievable that she not only committed such an act but also concealed it for an extended period. During our conversations, she would act like my confidant, pretending to support me through financial troubles and marital fights, all while having an affair with him. I harbor no remorse for manipulating my parents into coercing her to provide the proof I needed. It's the least she could do after wreaking havoc on my marriage. Even after serving him with divorce papers, their affair persisted. He assured her he'd rescue her from trouble once he had the money, but, as expected, that promise went unfulfilled. Their communication only ceased a few weeks ago, leaving a trail of deceit and broken promises. His decision to end things with her remains a mystery to me, but my sister was visibly distraught. I assume that's what led her to finally break down and agree to assist me in the divorce proceedings. According to my lawyer, things are well in hand, and we have little to worry about, which is a relief. My parents assured me they would ensure my sister secured a job promptly, preventing them from being her long-term financial support. Despite her apparent depression, I find it challenging to feel sorry for her as she brought this upon herself. If she had avoided the affair, she could have lived life on her terms. But when you disrupt my life, expect consequences, just karma in action. So, I don't believe I have any reason to pity her. While the initial anger has subsided, I can't help pondering whether my marriage could have succeeded. It's pointless to dwell on it now as we head for divorce, yet the longing for what once was persists. Truthfully, I occasionally wish for a return to our pre-crisis days. However, I resist letting these thoughts soften me. It's not a luxury I can afford at this moment. There will be time for reflection later. For now, I must suppress these emotions and concentrate solely on the impending divorce, hoping it unfolds favorably. Stay tuned for more stories from our channel.